Assalamu alaikum. Some people do not break your heart in one moment. They slowly drain the peace out of your soul. At first, you call it love. You stay patient. You ignore the red flags. You keep hoping they will finally become the person your heart keeps waiting for. But little by little, you stop feeling like yourself. Your mind becomes heavy. Your chest feels anxious all the time. You overthink every message. You lose sleep over someone who cannot even give your heart consistency. One day they make you feel loved, and the next day they make you feel completely invisible. And without realizing it, you begin calling emotional exhaustion love. But what if real love was never supposed to hurt your soul like this? What if the person you are desperately trying to keep is the very reason your heart no longer feels at peace? Because Islam teaches us something powerful. The love written by Allah brings sakina into your life. Not constant confusion, not emotional fear, not endless heartbreak that leaves your soul tired every single night. So if someone keeps disturbing your peace, keeps draining your emotional stability, keeps making your heart feel heavy instead of safe, maybe this is not the love your soul was created for. Tonight, let's talk about the painful signs of the wrong love and why the right love, the love written by Allah, will never constantly destroy your inner peace. The wrong love turns your heart into a place of constant emotional war. The wrong love does not only hurt your heart once in a while, it slowly changes the way you live, think, feel, and even see yourself. Before this person entered your life, your heart may not have been perfect, but it was calmer. Your mind felt lighter. You could enjoy simple moments without constantly carrying emotional pressure inside your chest. You could sleep peacefully. You could focus on your life. You could breathe without feeling emotionally heavy every single day. But after becoming deeply attached to the wrong person, everything inside you begins to change little by little. Your emotions become unstable. Your peace becomes fragile. Your happiness starts depending on how they treat you that day. If they reply with love, your mood rises. If they become distant, your entire heart collapses. You begin overthinking things you never used to overthink before. A delayed message suddenly ruins your whole night. A cold tone in their voice stays in your mind for hours. One small argument keeps replaying in your head for days as your heart desperately searches for reassurance. And this is how emotional war quietly begins inside the soul. You are smiling around people while secretly fighting battles inside your chest every single day. Your mind never fully rests because part of you is always worried about losing them, upsetting them, or feeling abandoned by them again. Even during happy moments, there is still fear hidden underneath your emotions. Fear that they may suddenly change. Fear that they may pull away. Fear that you may once again feel unwanted. The painful thing about wrong love is that it rarely stays completely bad all the time. If it were only pain, most people would leave quickly. But unhealthy love often gives small moments of warmth in between long periods of confusion. Just when your heart becomes tired and ready to let go, the person suddenly becomes soft again. They send a loving message. They show attention. They make promises. They give you just enough hope to keep your heart emotionally attached. And because your soul is hungry for peace, you hold on to those small moments tightly. You start focusing on the rare good moments while ignoring the emotional exhaustion surrounding the entire connection. You keep telling yourself, maybe things will finally change. You keep hoping they will become the person they acted like in the beginning. And this hope traps many hearts for months or even years, not because they are weak, but because love mixed with inconsistency creates emotional addiction. The heart keeps chasing the next moment of comfort, while silently suffering in between. This is why wrong love feels so draining. It keeps your emotions unstable. One day you feel loved. The next day you feel invisible. One moment you feel close to them. The next moment you feel completely alone, and slowly your heart becomes a place of constant tension instead of peace. You stop feeling emotionally safe. You stop feeling mentally calm. You start losing parts of yourself without even realizing it. The things that once brought you joy no longer feel the same because your mind is always emotionally occupied. Your relationship with family weakens. Your focus disappears. Even your connection with Allah can become weaker because your thoughts are constantly consumed by one person. And this is one of the biggest signs that something is wrong. When a connection constantly fills your soul with anxiety, confusion, fear, and emotional exhaustion, your heart is already carrying a burden it was never meant to carry. Allah did not create love to make you emotionally sick. Allah did not create love so you could spend every night overthinking whether someone truly cares about you. Real love is supposed to protect the heart, not slowly destroy it. Real love brings mercy, honesty, emotional safety, and peace into your life. Even during difficult moments, there is still stability inside it. But the wrong love turns every day into emotional survival. You keep trying to fix things. You keep trying to hold the connection together. You keep hoping your patience will finally change the other person. Meanwhile, your own heart keeps becoming more tired, more anxious, and more emotionally broken. Sometimes people stay because they are afraid of losing the person. But many times, what they are really afraid of is accepting the truth. Accepting that the connection they fought so hard for is the very thing stealing their peace. And this is why you must listen carefully to the condition of your heart. Your soul often recognizes what your emotions are still trying to deny. If loving someone constantly fills your chest with heaviness, confusion, fear, emotional instability, and pain, then your heart may already know this connection is not bringing you closer to peace, because the love written by Allah does not make your soul feel like a battlefield every single day. Real love should never feel like constant emotional war. The wrong person makes you beg for the love that should have flowed naturally. One of the most painful feelings a person can experience is giving their whole heart to someone while constantly feeling emotionally unwanted by them. You love deeply. You care sincerely. You try your best to protect the connection. But no matter how much effort you give, the relationship still feels emotionally one-sided. You are always the one trying harder, always the one fixing problems first, always the one overthinking, waiting, hoping, and chasing emotional reassurance. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin begging for things that should have come naturally from the beginning. You beg for attention. You beg for honesty. You beg for consistency. You beg to feel important in their life. You start wishing for simple things that should never feel rare in genuine love. A kind message, a little effort, a moment of emotional reassurance, a small sign that they still care. And because your heart becomes emotionally deprived for so long, even the smallest amount of affection suddenly feels huge to you. This is how unhealthy attachment quietly traps the heart. The wrong person gives you just enough love to keep you emotionally attached, but never enough peace to make you feel secure. One day they act caring and affectionate. They make you feel special. They make you believe the connection is finally becoming stable. But the next day they become cold again, distant again, confusing again, and your heart falls back into anxiety all over again. You spend hours trying to understand their behavior. You keep asking yourself questions that destroy your peace inside. Did I do something wrong? Why did they suddenly change? Why do I feel loved one day and ignored the next? And because you truly care about them, you keep making excuses for behavior that continues hurting your soul. This is why the wrong love becomes emotionally exhausting. Your heart never fully rests. You are constantly chasing emotional clarity from someone who keeps giving mixed signals. And after some time, you become emotionally addicted to temporary moments of affection. Because they are so inconsistent, a single loving message suddenly feels powerful. Because your heart has been starving for emotional comfort for so long. And slowly, your standards begin lowering without you noticing it. Things that once hurt you deeply start becoming normal. You begin accepting behavior you once promised yourself you would never tolerate. You become thankful for the bare minimum because the connection has emotionally trained your heart to survive on crumbs instead of real care. This is one of the saddest things wrong love can do to a person. It teaches them to feel grateful for small amounts of effort while ignoring the deep emotional neglect surrounding the relationship. But real love does not constantly leave your soul starving. When someone genuinely values your heart, you do not have to keep begging for basic emotional care. You do not have to keep proving your worth. You do not have to fight every day just to feel chosen. Healthy love flows with sincerity. It flows with consistency. It flows with emotional safety and clear effort. Yes, Every relationship requires patience and understanding. No connection is perfect. But there is a difference between natural human imperfection and constant emotional deprivation. The wrong person keeps you emotionally confused because confusion benefits them. As long as you remain attached, you continue giving your energy, your attention, your loyalty, and your emotional effort while receiving very little peace in return. And many people stay trapped in this cycle because they become addicted to hope. Hope that one day the person will finally become emotionally available. Hope that one day things will feel easier. Hope that one day the love will become stable. But sometimes the hardest truth to accept is this: if someone truly wanted to protect your heart, they would not repeatedly leave it drowning in confusion. A person who genuinely values you will not enjoy watching you constantly question your place in their life. They will not disappear whenever things become serious. They will not make you feel emotionally unwanted while expecting you to continue giving endless love in return. Because healthy love does not make you feel like you are constantly fighting to be seen. And this is where many people lose themselves. They become so focused on receiving love from one person that they slowly abandon their own dignity in the process. They stop asking for what they truly deserve because they fear losing the relationship completely. They remain silent about their pain because they are scared honesty may push the person away. But Islam never teaches us to destroy ourselves emotionally just to keep someone in our life. Allah did not create you to beg for love that should have flowed naturally. Allah did not create your heart to spend every night crying over someone who only gives you attention when it is convenient for them. Real love protects dignity. Real love protects emotional well-being. Real love brings peace into the soul, instead of constantly making it feel emotionally abandoned. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is finally stop chasing the love that keeps making you feel unwanted, because the right person will never force you to beg for the bare minimum while calling it love. Some attachments pull your heart away from Allah instead of closer to Him. One of the most dangerous things about the wrong love is that sometimes it does not only damage your emotions, it slowly damages your connection with Allah too. At first, you think the person is simply important to you. You care about them deeply. You think about them often. You wait for their messages. You feel emotionally attached. But little by little, without realizing it, that attachment begins taking more space inside your heart than it should. Your thoughts become consumed by them. You wake up checking your phone. You sleep thinking about them. Your mood depends on how they treat you. Your peace depends on whether they stay close or become distant. And slowly, your emotional state becomes controlled by another human being. This is where attachment becomes spiritually dangerous, because the heart was created to depend on Allah first, not on people. Human beings can never carry the weight of being your source of complete peace. They are imperfect. They change emotionally. They disappoint. They leave. They fail. And when your entire emotional stability becomes attached to someone unstable, your own heart begins falling apart with them. This is why the wrong attachment feels so exhausting. You are constantly emotionally affected by another person's behavior. One good message gives you temporary peace. One cold reply destroys your whole mood. One moment of distance suddenly makes you anxious and emotionally restless for hours or even days. And because your heart becomes so occupied with them, your connection with Allah slowly weakens in the background. Your salah loses focus because your mind keeps thinking about the person. Your du'as become filled only with desperation for the relationship. Your heart becomes emotionally distracted, even during worship. Sometimes you are physically praying, but emotionally your heart is somewhere else completely. And many people do not even notice this happening until their soul becomes deeply exhausted. The wrong attachment slowly turns into emotional dependency. You begin needing the person to feel okay. You need their attention to feel calm. You need their reassurance to feel emotionally secure. And when they pull away, your heart immediately falls into fear, sadness, anxiety, and emotional chaos. But this is not the kind of peace Allah wants for you. Allah never intended for your emotional stability to depend completely on another human being. Because people are temporary, but Allah is permanent. People change without warning. But Allah never abandons the hearts that sincerely return to Him. The problem is that sometimes love becomes so emotionally intense that people start seeking from creation what should only be sought from the Creator. They expect one person to heal every wound inside them. They expect one person to remove all loneliness, all sadness, all emptiness from their heart. But no human being can carry that responsibility perfectly. Only Allah can give the heart complete peace. This is why many people remain emotionally restless even while deeply attached to someone. Because attachment without Allah at the center always creates imbalance inside the soul. The right love does not replace Allah in your heart. The right love brings you closer to Him. It strengthens your deen instead of weakening it. It inspires peace, sincerity, patience, and emotional balance. It makes your heart softer toward Allah, not more distracted from Him. You begin improving yourself spiritually together. You encourage one another toward goodness. You protect each other's peace. You remind each other of Allah during difficult moments, instead of becoming the reason each other constantly suffers emotionally. A love blessed by Allah carries barakah inside it. Even during hardships, there is still emotional safety. There is still honesty. There is still respect. There is still peace living underneath the struggle. But the wrong attachment fills the soul with emotional instability. You become obsessed with being chosen by someone while slowly forgetting that your worth was already given to you by Allah long before this person entered your life. And this is why some heartbreaks become spiritual wake-up calls. Allah allows certain connections to shake your heart so you finally realize how much of your peace was tied to people instead of Him. Sometimes the pain is not only about losing someone. Sometimes the pain is exposing how emotionally dependent your heart had become. And when Allah removes someone from your life, it is not always punishment. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes Allah sees that your heart is becoming too attached to something unhealthy. Sometimes He sees that the relationship is slowly draining your peace, your focus, your emotional stability, and even your connection with Him. So He allows distance, silence, or separation to pull your heart back toward the one who truly controls all peace. And this is why healing often begins when a person stops chasing people and starts returning fully to Allah again, not because the pain disappears overnight, but because the soul slowly remembers where true peace actually comes from. There is a type of calmness that no relationship in this dunya can fully give. A calmness that enters the heart when you stop making people your emotional center and start making Allah your emotional refuge again. This is why the strongest hearts are not the hearts that never love. They are the hearts that love people without losing themselves, their peace, or their connection with Allah in the process. Never allow an attachment to become so powerful that it begins controlling your soul more than your relationship with your Creator. Because anything that pulls your heart away from Allah while constantly draining your peace is not bringing life to your soul. It is slowly exhausting it. The wrong love keeps your soul stuck in anxiety, confusion, and emotional fear. One of the clearest signs that someone is wrong for your heart is that your soul never fully feels at peace around them. No matter how much you love them, no matter how badly you want the relationship to work, there is always emotional tension living quietly inside your chest. You are constantly overthinking, constantly worrying, constantly trying to understand where you truly stand with them. The relationship may have beautiful moments, but underneath those moments there is still confusion. There is still fear. There is still emotional instability that never fully disappears. And this is what makes wrong love so emotionally exhausting. Your heart never gets to rest. One day the person acts warm, loving, and emotionally close. They make you feel special. They give you hope. They make you believe things are finally becoming stable. But then suddenly their energy changes again. They become cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. And without realizing it, your entire mood changes with them. You begin checking your phone constantly. You replay conversations in your head. You search for hidden meanings behind every small behavior. If they take too long to reply, anxiety fills your chest. If they sound different, your mind starts panicking. If they become distant for even one day, your peace completely disappears. And slowly, your nervous system becomes trapped in emotional fear. This is what many people do not realize about unhealthy love. It does not only hurt the heart emotionally, it affects the entire mind and body. Your sleep becomes restless. Your thoughts become obsessive. Your chest feels heavy. Even during peaceful moments, your mind remains alert because part of you is always expecting disappointment again. The wrong love keeps the soul emotionally unsafe. You may laugh around people. You may pretend everything is okay, but inside, your heart is carrying constant uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the most draining feelings a human being can experience. Because the heart keeps searching for stability, while the relationship keeps creating emotional confusion. You never fully know where you stand. You never fully know if the person truly values you. You never fully know if they will stay. So your mind keeps living in survival mode. This is why some people become emotionally exhausted, even while still deeply attached to someone. The connection is not giving them peace anymore, but they are too emotionally connected to walk away. They keep hoping things will finally change. They keep believing that if they love harder, stay longer, or become more patient, the relationship will eventually become emotionally safe. But real love should not constantly make your soul feel anxious. Yes, every relationship has tests. Every human being has flaws. There will always be moments of misunderstanding or difficulty, but healthy love still carries emotional safety underneath those struggles. There is still honesty. There is still effort. There is still reassurance. There is still peace living inside the connection. The wrong love removes that peace. Instead of feeling emotionally protected, you feel emotionally fragile all the time. Small things affect you deeply because your heart already feels unstable inside the relationship. You become afraid of speaking honestly because you fear losing them. You become afraid of expressing pain because you worry they may pull away even more. And slowly, fear begins controlling your behavior. You stop asking questions that matter. You stop expressing your true emotions. You remain silent about things hurting your heart because you are scared honesty may ruin the relationship. This is not emotional safety. This is emotional survival. And many people confuse emotional intensity with deep love because they grew used to chaos. When someone finally treats them with calmness, honesty, and consistency, it almost feels unfamiliar to them. They think peace means the connection lacks passion because their heart became addicted to emotional highs and lows. But Islam teaches something very different. Allah describes marriage and love with words connected to peace, mercy, and tranquility. Not emotional confusion, not endless fear, not constant heartbreak. The right love calms the soul instead of constantly disturbing it. A person who truly cares about your heart will not enjoy leaving you drowning in confusion. They will not disappear emotionally whenever things become serious. They will not constantly make you question your worth, your importance, or your place in their life. Real love reassures. Real love protects. Real love brings emotional calmness into the heart. And this is important to understand deeply. A relationship should not feel like a constant test of your emotional survival. If your connection with someone keeps filling your life with anxiety, fear, emotional exhaustion, confusion, and instability, then your soul is carrying a burden it was never meant to carry, because the wrong love keeps your heart trapped inside emotional storms while convincing you that this suffering is proof of love. But suffering is not always love. Sometimes suffering is simply the soul warning you that something is wrong. And one of the greatest blessings Allah can place inside a relationship is not intense emotion, but peace. The kind of peace where your heart no longer feels afraid every single day. The kind of peace where your mind finally becomes quiet again. The kind of peace where love no longer feels like emotional warfare. Because the love written by Allah does not keep your soul trapped in constant fear. It gives your heart a place to finally rest. Loving the wrong person slowly makes you forget your worth and inner peace. One of the most heartbreaking things about loving the wrong person is that the damage does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, little by little. The relationship begins changing the way you see yourself. At first, you only question the connection. You wonder why things feel difficult. You wonder why the person keeps hurting you. You wonder why love feels so emotionally heavy all the time. But after enough pain, something even more dangerous begins happening. You stop questioning the relationship and start questioning yourself. You begin wondering if maybe you are the problem. Maybe I ask for too much. Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I expect too much care. Maybe I am hard to love. And slowly, the wrong love starts damaging your self-worth. You begin shrinking yourself just to keep the person from leaving. You become quieter about your pain. You stop expressing what hurts you because you fear they may become distant again. You ignore things that deeply bother your soul because you are scared honesty might ruin the relationship completely. And this is how many people slowly lose themselves inside unhealthy love. Not because they are weak, but because attachment can make the heart tolerate things it once promised it would never accept. The wrong person often makes you feel emotionally unwanted, while still keeping you emotionally attached enough to stay. They give just enough attention to keep your heart connected, but not enough consistency to make your soul feel secure. So you remain trapped between hope and pain at the same time. One day they make you feel deeply loved. The next day they make you feel invisible. And because your heart desperately wants the good moments to last, you continue sacrificing pieces of yourself, trying to protect the connection. You become more patient than peaceful, more understanding than emotionally safe, more focused on saving the relationship than protecting your own heart. And after some time, your inner peace completely disappears. You stop feeling emotionally calm. Your mind becomes filled with overthinking. Your heart carries constant heaviness. Even when the person is around, there is still sadness living quietly underneath your emotions, because deep inside, your soul knows something is missing. Real love should never make you feel emotionally abandoned all the time. One of the clearest signs of the wrong love is that you slowly stop feeling valuable inside the relationship. You begin feeling like you must earn love instead of simply receiving it naturally. You feel like you must constantly prove your worth, prove your loyalty, prove your patience, prove your importance. And no matter how much you give, it still never feels enough. This is emotionally exhausting for the soul, because the heart was not created to survive on temporary affection, mixed with constant disappointment. The heart needs emotional safety. It needs honesty. It needs consistency. It needs to feel respected, valued, and protected. But the wrong love keeps draining your emotional energy while giving very little peace in return. And one of the saddest parts is that many people stay because they fear starting over. They fear loneliness. They fear losing the person completely. So they continue accepting emotional pain while hoping things will finally change someday. But sometimes, love blinds people from seeing how deeply they are hurting themselves. You begin tolerating disrespect you once would never accept. You begin excusing behavior that destroys your peace. You begin abandoning your own emotional needs just to avoid conflict or distance. And slowly, you lose the version of yourself that once felt emotionally strong. This is why unhealthy love becomes spiritually dangerous too. Because when your self-worth becomes tied to another person's attention, your emotional stability starts depending on someone who is imperfect. If they give attention, you feel valuable. If they pull away, you feel empty. If they become distant, you suddenly feel emotionally broken. But your worth was never meant to come from human beings. Your worth was already given to you by Allah. You were valuable before this person entered your life. You were worthy before they chose you. You were enough before they gave you attention. And no relationship should make you forget that. Allah did not create you to constantly beg for emotional reassurance from someone who keeps hurting your soul. Allah did not create love so you could spend your nights crying, overthinking, feeling unwanted, and slowly losing your peace trying to keep another person close. Real love protects dignity. Real love does not force you to silence your pain just to keep the connection alive. Real love does not make you feel emotionally small, emotionally unwanted, or emotionally exhausted every single day. A person who genuinely cares about your heart will never feel comfortable watching your soul slowly break while they continue benefiting from your love. And this is important to understand deeply. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop abandoning yourself for someone who keeps abandoning your peace. Because no matter how deeply you love someone, you should never lose your self-respect, your emotional stability, and your connection with Allah in the process. The wrong love keeps teaching you to sacrifice yourself for temporary emotional closeness. But the right love reminds you of your value instead of making you question it every day. The right person will not make you feel like loving you is a burden. They will not make you constantly compete for reassurance. They will not make your soul feel emotionally unwanted while calling it love. Because the love written by Allah does not destroy your worth, it protects it. Sometimes Allah removes someone because your future peace matters more than your current attachment. One of the hardest things for the human heart to accept is that sometimes the person you desperately want to keep is the very person Allah is trying to remove for your protection. And this kind of pain feels deeply confusing at first, because your heart does not understand why something you loved so much had to fall apart. You made dua for them. You cared about them sincerely. You imagined a future with them. You stayed patient through pain, hoping things would finally become easier. You kept believing that if you loved harder, prayed harder, or waited longer, the relationship would eventually become peaceful. But instead, the connection kept hurting your soul. And many times people stay attached, not because they are truly at peace, but because they became emotionally dependent on the hope of what the relationship could become someday. This is why letting go feels terrifying. You are not only grieving the person, you are grieving the future you imagined with them. You are grieving the version of love you hoped they would eventually give you. And sometimes the heart becomes so emotionally attached that even obvious pain feels easier than separation. But Allah sees what you cannot see. Allah sees the nights you cried quietly. Allah sees how emotionally exhausted your soul has become. Allah sees how much anxiety, confusion, and emotional instability this connection keeps bringing into your life. And sometimes, out of mercy, Allah removes people before they completely destroy your peace. This is something many people only understand much later. At first, the separation feels unbearable. Your chest feels empty. Your mind keeps replaying memories. Your heart keeps hoping the person will come back and suddenly become everything you always needed. You miss them constantly. You make dua for signs. You wonder why Allah allowed the relationship to end if your feelings were so strong. But strong feelings are not always signs that someone is right for you. Sometimes feelings only reveal attachment, not compatibility, not peace, not goodness for your future. And this is where many hearts struggle, because they confuse emotional intensity with divine alignment. But the love written by Allah does not repeatedly destroy your soul while calling it destiny. Yes, every relationship has hardships. Every human being has flaws. But there is a difference between temporary struggles and constant emotional suffering that slowly steals your peace, weakens your heart, and fills your life with anxiety. Sometimes Allah removes someone because He knows what staying with them would eventually do to your heart. You may only see the moments where they were loving. Allah sees every hidden moment too. The emotional inconsistency, the sleepless nights, the confusion, the emotional neglect, the silent damage happening inside your soul. And because Allah is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, He sometimes breaks a connection before it breaks you completely. Many people beg Allah to keep relationships that are quietly destroying them. They ask Allah for closeness with someone while their mental peace is disappearing. They ask Allah to save the relationship while their emotional health is collapsing. They ask Allah to bring the person back while their soul is becoming more tired every single day. But Allah knows what your future heart needs more than your current emotions do. Sometimes your attachment is asking for one thing, while Allah's mercy is protecting you from it. And this is one of the deepest tests of trust. Can you trust Allah even when your heart does not understand the separation yet? Can you believe that Allah may remove someone, not because you are unworthy of love, but because He knows your future peace cannot survive inside that connection? This is difficult for the heart to accept because pain makes people romanticize what hurt them. After separation, the mind often remembers the beautiful moments while forgetting the emotional suffering that existed too. You begin missing the comfort while forgetting the confusion, missing the closeness while forgetting the anxiety, missing the attachment while forgetting how emotionally exhausted you truly were. But after enough time passes, many people finally realize something important. They were not only grieving the person, they were also recovering from the emotional chaos the relationship created inside them. And slowly, the soul begins breathing again. The overthinking decreases. The anxiety becomes lighter. The emotional pressure inside the chest slowly fades. For the first time in a long time, the heart begins feeling calm again. This is why some endings are actually hidden mercy from Allah. Not every closed door is punishment. Not every heartbreak is abandonment. Not every separation means you lost something good for you. Sometimes Allah removes people because He loves you too much to let your soul remain trapped in something unhealthy forever. And one of the hardest truths to accept is this: a person can be emotionally important to you while still being emotionally harmful for your future. This is why healing requires surrender. Not surrender to sadness, not surrender to hopelessness, but surrender to Allah's wisdom, trusting that if Allah removed something from your life, there is a reason beyond what your emotions can currently understand. Trusting that what is written for you will never require you to destroy your inner peace just to keep it. Trusting that Allah can see the future while you can only see your current pain. And maybe this is why some people leave your life no matter how hard you try to hold on to them. Because Allah is not only protecting your present, He is protecting your future heart too. One day, many people look back at the relationship they once begged Allah to save and thank Him for ending it, not because the pain was small, but because they finally realized how heavy their soul had become while trying to hold on to someone who was never bringing them true peace. Because the wrong love drains your spirit slowly, but Allah's mercy always leads the heart back toward peace eventually. The love written by Allah will feel like peace, safety, and emotional rest, not constant pain. After experiencing the wrong love, many people begin believing that all love must feel painful. They become so used to emotional confusion, overthinking, inconsistency, and heartbreak that they start thinking suffering is a normal part of caring deeply for someone. They think love must always feel heavy. They think constant anxiety means the connection is strong. They think emotional exhaustion is proof that the relationship matters. But this is not the kind of love Allah wants for your heart. The love written by Allah does not leave your soul trapped in endless emotional chaos. It does not make you spend every night questioning your worth. It does not make your chest feel heavy every single day. It does not constantly leave you confused, emotionally neglected, and mentally drained, while forcing you to call that pain love. The love written by Allah feels different, not because it is perfect, not because there are no tests, not because two human beings suddenly become flawless, but because underneath the difficulties, there is still peace. There is emotional safety. There is honesty. There is mercy. There is calmness living inside the connection. The right person does not make your soul feel like it is constantly fighting for survival. You do not wake up every day terrified of losing them. You do not spend hours overthinking every message. You do not constantly feel emotionally abandoned while trying to convince yourself to stay patient. Instead, your heart slowly feels lighter around them. You feel emotionally secure. You feel respected. You feel valued. You feel safe being your real self, without fear of emotional punishment. And this kind of peace is rare because many people today know how to create emotional intensity, but very few know how to create emotional safety. The wrong love keeps your nervous system trapped in fear, but the right love calms your soul. You no longer feel the need to beg for reassurance because their actions already give reassurance naturally. You no longer feel emotionally confused because they communicate with honesty. You no longer feel afraid to express your emotions because your feelings are treated with care instead of carelessness. And perhaps one of the most beautiful things about healthy love is this: it does not distract you from Allah. It brings you closer to Him. The right person makes your heart softer toward your deen, not weaker inside it. They encourage peace in your life, instead of constantly becoming the source of your emotional pain. They protect your dignity, instead of slowly damaging it. They become a source of emotional comfort during difficult times, instead of becoming the reason your heart keeps breaking. This is the kind of love that carries barakah, not loud love, not toxic attachment, not emotional games, but sincere love. The kind of love where two people genuinely care about protecting each other's peace, hearts, and connection with Allah. And when you experience this kind of love, you begin realizing how exhausting unhealthy attachment truly was. You finally understand that love was never supposed to feel like constant emotional survival. You finally understand that peace is not boring. Peace is beautiful. Peace is healthy. Peace is one of the greatest blessings Allah can place inside a relationship. The right love allows your soul to rest, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer carrying emotional confusion every single day. Even during disagreements, there is still respect. Even during hardships, there is still emotional safety. Even during stressful moments, there is still sincerity underneath the struggle. This is why the right person will never enjoy making your heart suffer unnecessarily. They will not disappear to manipulate your emotions. They will not constantly make you question your place in their life. They will not repeatedly destroy your peace while asking you to call it love. Because someone who truly loves you fears hurting your heart carelessly. And this is something many people discover too late. They spend years chasing emotionally unavailable people because the pain feels familiar. Meanwhile, the calm and healthy love they truly needed feels unfamiliar to them because their heart became addicted to emotional chaos. But Allah did not create your heart for endless emotional instability. Allah created the heart to experience sakina, a peaceful heart, a safe heart, a heart that feels emotionally protected instead of emotionally drained. And maybe this is what your soul needs to remember today. Just because someone was emotionally important to you does not mean they were emotionally healthy for you. Some people are lessons. Some people are temporary tests. Some people teach you the difference between attachment and peace. And sometimes the reason Allah did not allow a relationship to continue is because He was preparing your heart for something healthier, safer, and more sincere in the future. Never believe the lie that love must always hurt to be real. The wrong love hurts because it lacks peace. The wrong love hurts because it lacks emotional safety. The wrong love hurts because it pulls your soul into confusion instead of calmness. But the love written by Allah carries mercy inside it. It protects your dignity. It protects your emotional well-being. It protects your connection with Allah. It protects your peace. And after surviving relationships that drained your soul, confused your heart, and made love feel emotionally heavy, the right love will not feel like emotional war anymore. It will feel like relief, like finally being able to breathe again, like finally putting down a burden your soul was never meant to carry for so long, like finally discovering that real love was never supposed to make your heart feel abandoned every single day. Because when Allah writes someone truly good for your life, their presence will not constantly steal your peace. It will become part of it. Sometimes the hardest part of healing is accepting that you can deeply love someone and still realize they were not good for your peace. Not every person who touches your heart is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people enter your life to teach you what love should never feel like. Some people show you how easily attachment can make you abandon yourself. And some heartbreaks are actually Allah saving your soul before the damage becomes even deeper. If someone constantly made your heart feel heavy, constantly filled your life with anxiety, constantly disturbed your peace, do not ignore what your soul was trying to tell you, because the love written by Allah will never require you to destroy yourself just to keep it. One day, inshallah, you will experience a love that feels different, a love that does not leave you emotionally starving, a love that does not make you question your worth every day, a love that protects your peace instead of stealing it, a love that brings your heart closer to Allah instead of pulling it away from Him. And on that day, you will finally understand why Allah removed certain people from your life, even when your heart begged Him not to. Because Allah can see the future your emotions cannot see. So if your heart is hurting right now, trust Allah. Trust that what left your life was not greater than what He is capable of bringing into it. Trust that your peace matters to Him. Trust that the heart which cries today can still heal tomorrow. And most importantly, never chase a love that keeps making your soul feel abandoned. Because real love should feel like mercy. Real love should feel like safety. Real love should feel like peace. If this message touched your heart, write "peace over attachment" in the comments. And subscribe to Deenpedia for more reminders that heal the heart, protect the soul, and bring you closer to Allah.